What is up, YouTube? What is up, fellow fantasy people? And as always, what is up, the catch fam? You already know what time it is, man. We are rolling right into another mock draft. This one requested by Dat Boy. Wanted to see a 18 pick 7 with the best strategy and other terms an RB heavy strategy. So let's get right into it, man. Thank you, Dat Boy, for letting us know what type of mock draft strategy you would like to see. As always, drop a comment down below with what type of mock drafts, what type of mock draft strategies you guys would like to see to be most helpful for you and your personal fantasy league. And as always, I kindly ask that you go ahead and smash that like button if you do end up enjoying this video or finding it helpful. And as always, I kindly ask to consider subscribing to the channel for more future content like this, as well as mine and Steven's The Annual Catch podcast. So let's get rolling with that 7th overall selection. We're definitely going to be targeting that of Nick Chubb of Aaron Jones, probably the two most likely candidates to fall to us, as we see CMC selected number 1 overall. But if those two guys don't fall to us, and there's still a lot of really good options like that of Jonathan Taylor or that of Najee Harris, who will be our next two targets with that 10th overall selection. And then in that next tier, I do like both Austin Eckler and Antonio Gibson. Some big news with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, potentially being injured. Doesn't look so good. So definitely a big blow to the fantasy community, but we'll keep an eye on things. Going to see a lot of these question marks at this point in time start to pop up with a lot of players. At this point in time in off season is when you get a lot of veterans, a lot of important players. Starting to maybe rest a little bit during, these joint practices and all of that, trying to remain healthy for the regular season. So we will certainly be monitoring all of those aspects as well. As we see, really, your big four, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry after that selection of Christian McCaffrey. And one of the running backs we were targeting, Aaron Jones, being selected 5th overall. So we still have Ezekiel Elliott and Nick Chubb available here. So if Zeke doesn't get selected with the 6th selection, he is definitely who we're going to be picking. But Nick Chubb still sitting here, so a lot of good talent, and there goes Nick Chubb. So I'm going out, I'm getting my guy Zeke. I think that is a great slide. And with this 10th overall selection, as we see Jonathan Taylor off the board, Saquon Barkley still sitting here, I'm more likely to draft that of Najee Harris over Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon's a very good value at pick 10, but I'm just a little bit more confident overall in that of Najee Harris. Looks like week 7 we won't be having our best players out there, but nonetheless that is okay. So let's go ahead and see. We've got the 23rd overall selection here, so you can still get a very valuable running back with that pick. You already know who we're going to be targeting. Someone who it feels like I draft in every single mock draft, as we see Travis Kelce selected with the 11th overall pick, and our first receiver off the board was that of Tyreek Hill right before my selection of Tyreek Hill. Of Najee Harris. And now we see Devontae Adams off the board. So yeah, David Montgomery definitely our next top target. Gonna be interesting how this injury is affecting things with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Looks like he had suffered. It was a slight ankle sprain. So let's see if they have any possible timelines for him. Doesn't look like a high ankle sprain, so that's always a good thing. But nonetheless, regardless, it definitely spikes Darrell Williams, fantasy stock, and Jerick McKinnon's. So definitely, especially in deeper leagues, something to keep an eye on for those other two guys there. So now we see Austin Eckler and Stephon Diggs off the board. So I guess Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a stay away at this point, right? So Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley still on the board right now as well. But really, in all honesty, out of all these guys right here, David Montgomery is still the guy that I'm falling back to. I mean, someone who I'm super high on. I mean, I do feel like in every mock draft that I go running back heavy on, he ends up on my team. But I have no problem with that. So we now see Saquon Barkley up the board. I mean, at the 15th overall selection, that is a tremendous value. Even where we selected with pick 10, still a very very good value where we could have gotten him, but I'm very confident with that selection of Najee Harris. So at the end of the second round, we saw Calvin Ridley off the board, and now at the top of the third round, D Hop is off the board. So still a lot of good players here. We see Antonio Gibson off the board, and even with let's say David Montgomery. Does get selected before we pick, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Joe Mixon aren't available as well. You know, I think there's a pretty significant drop off here after that of David Montgomery. Chris Carson, someone who I've been relatively high on throughout the offseason here. After looking and doing some more research into the strength of schedule for the Seahawks, I'm a little less confident. But nonetheless, my point was if these running backs that we're not confident in are not, or if they're not available, excuse me, then Patrick Mahomes, who just got selected, would be the next player I look to, and then that of Darren Waller would be the next player after Patrick Mahomes, just soaking up that pure overall talent. As we now see Clyde Edwards-Helaire off the board, would probably be the next thing I would turn to if there's not a running back here that I'm overly confident in. But it looks like we have a good shot of being able to get David Montgomery, but we may have a relatively good shot to get him with the 26th selection. So let's see. Terry's pretty even. He's got one running back and one receiver. So strategy here is to leave a pretty good running back available. David Montgomery is the top running back. So I'm going to go out and secure my guy in David Montgomery because, if I didn't pick him there, then I would have just selected Darren Waller. But I think there's a chance that Darren Waller might slide to us. And if he doesn't, well, he did, right? But if he didn't, then I would just go out and secure a receiver that I'm confident in. As difficult as the Seahawks schedule is, something that I have been bringing up lately, I'm still very confident in DK Metcalf nonetheless. But for this specific strategy, let's just go out and get Darren Waller, get a top talent to add to this team. We have three absolute stud running backs and now a tremendous value with that selection of Darren Waller. I think especially in 8-man leagues, we're going to see a lot of depth at the receiver position. So if I didn't pick Waller there, Metcalf would have been my next selection, who got picked right after my selection of Darren Waller. But if Metcalf wasn't there, then guys like Allen Robinson, Terry McLaurin, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, they all present great value. Either Chris Godwin or Mike Evans, whoever you're feeling more confident in, right? And now we're going to go out and probably target one of these top tier quarterbacks. But we might just see who's available at receiver as well, just to go out and get a number one guy. And then I think there's plenty of good running backs who will be available in some of these later picks for us around pick 55 and 58. But I might go out and get my guy Josh Jacobs here. So we'll see kind of how the rest of these rounds are round or so, excuse me, kind of play out. As looks like I'm having trouble scrolling back up, so we'll just forget that. But so yeah, in this current round, round 4, we've got DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, Darrell Henderson, and Allen Robinson all off the board. And now we see Terry McLaurin off the board as well. And let's just go back and see. We've got a lot of good receivers here. We'd like to snag up any of these first 4 guys, but I don't think they're going to last till that 39th overall selection. I do like that of Cooper Kupp a lot in PPR leagues. I think he's going to have a very good year from a PPR standpoint, but Robert Woods is also here. I think he's going to have a very good year as well. I think they're both those guys. I like where they're projected, right? Cooper Kupp around 1,200 receiving yards and about 7 to 8 touchdowns, and you got Robert Woods just under 1,200 receiving yards, 1 rushing touchdown, and around 4 touchdowns. I think those are good projections overall, as we see Josh Allen taken here at the top of the 5th, followed by that of Keenan Allen as well. So Chris Godwin, someone I would love to add to this roster if he does slide to us. Josh Jacobs still sitting here. So Josh Jacobs might be my guy. Just think about the surefire power at the RB position. In my personal league, we do have an extra flex spot, but in an 8-man league, you might not see that extra flex spot. So, but even just having those 3 running backs is going to make us feel very confident overall. Although having Darren Waller here, we might have just a little bit too much stock in that Raiders offense overall. So this is also kind of our last chance to get one of those top tier receivers, but I think overall we might be able to pass on one of them. Mike Evans sitting here looking like a very good selection, right? but we also have Robert Woods. We've got Lamar Jackson. I mean, a lot of good options here, right? So it's just, let's go ahead and check the quarterback position. Kyler Murray still sitting here. So I am just going to go out and I'm going to shore up the running back position, right? We're going RB heavy, so why not pick up that of Josh Jacobs, and then we will target a receiver with this next selection. I'm going to hold off at the quarterback position. I think we can secure pretty good value with our following selections in round 7 and round 8. So let's keep evaluating things. Very RB heavy here. We've got Zeke, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, and that great value at tight end. So we should expect one of these top receivers to slide to us here with that 42nd overall selection. But I like the value of Tyler Lockett here. I mean, we did see those 10 scoring touchdowns last year, so DJ Moore is a good value here as well. But definitely looking at Mike Evans or Robert Woods as our top targets. I'm pretty wary of drafting Amari Cooper. I mean, I actually owned him in fantasy last year, and he was one of my most consistent players, but I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about him this year. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to get Robert Woods, considering that we can still target Antonio Brown in a later round, so we don't want to put too much overall stock into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? So now we have Travis Etienne off the board. And yeah, we would love to see one of these top tier quarterbacks fall to us at pick 55, especially that of Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a fantastic year from a fantasy standpoint. I would not be surprised if he is the QB1. So we now see Tyler Lockett picked 44th overall, followed by that of Kyle Pitts with the 45th selection. But we don't need to stress whatsoever at the tight end position. If we can secure really one of these elite quarterbacks, I mean, it's very likely that both Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray get selected here. Russell Wilson, once again, bringing up the Seahawks strength of schedule. Someone who I love, as a quarterback, love as a fantasy value, right? But I'm very wary right now of the Seahawks offense. But I don't want to say that he, there's any reason to not look at him as a great fantasy value with what he did last year. If there's any quarterback who can come out and play against a very difficult strength of schedule, it's going to be Russell Wilson, right? So I still have some pretty high confidence in drafting Russell Wilson. If I'm going to draft anyone from that Seahawks offense, it's going to be Russ, and then the next guy's definitely still going to be DK, someone I've been super high on all offseason. But we wouldn't mind seeing a Justin Herbert, a Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, A-Rod, Ryan Tannehill, Matthew Stafford. I think there's a lot of good depth at the quarterback position, but I think having a guy like a Kyler Murray can really set your team apart from others. So let's see here. We've seen Myles Gaskin taken, as well as TJ Hawkinson and Kareem Hunt, all in the 6th round. And now in the 7th round, we see Mark Andrews as well as Dak Prescott are taken off the board. And now we will truly anticipate if we are going to be able to draft that of Kyler Murray or not. And there goes Kyler Murray. So nonetheless, we should still be able to go out and get a pretty valuable quarterback. But while we're here, let's check out and see who's available. I mean, still a lot of really good receivers here. I'm probably the most confident in Julio Jones, but I do really like the value of DJ Moore as a wide receiver 1. The only thing that draws me away from drafting DJ Moore is that you consistently see Robbie Anderson usually sliding into later rounds. So let's go out and get Julio Jones. Once again with Amari Cooper, I think you can very easily pick up Michael Gallup in very late rounds. So we're happy, since we did not get Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray. Not happy about that, but happy that we can go out and secure a wide receiver 2 and then go target a quarterback in round 9. So now that we're here at round 8, we could go ahead and snag a quarterback if we want. We could get another receiver. We could check who's available at tight end and get a second tight end. But let's check the running back room and see if there's anyone that we really want. A couple good names there, right? But I think we're going to have the best opportunity to select a quarterback or receiver with these next couple of selections. So really it's your pick here, but I'm just going to go with Mike Davis. We could have gone with Damian Harris, one of the 49ers running backs, one of the Cardinals running backs, one of the Denver Broncos running backs. James Robinson is available here. I would say that Ronald Jones II is the last running back that we really want to target here, barring any talent that we just can't not select being available. But let's go ahead and see who we've got here, or who's getting selected. After our selection of Mike Davis, we saw the Washington football team's defense selected, followed by Justin Herbert and that of Amari Cooper, right? But on this team, I think we do have two good enough receivers to get us through. I think both these guys are going to have great years from a PPR standpoint, that of Robert Woods and Julio Jones. At the running back position, we're looking absolutely loaded, man. We've got Zeke, Najee Harris, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs, and Mike Davis, and then we have that tremendous value at the tight end position, and that of Darren Waller. We're seeing a little bit of a run on defenses here as the Pittsburgh Steelers defense is now selected, so we really do need to move to that quarterback position, but still a lot of really good guys available here. We still got Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, A-Rod, Ryan Tannehill, and Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford projected over 5,000 passing yards, around 32 touchdowns, at least one rushing touchdown. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about Matthew Stafford from a fantasy standpoint, because some people think he has the potential to be a fantasy MVP and be one of the best deals of the year. So I'm definitely interested to get your guys' feedback on that. While you're down there, go ahead and smash the like button, as it truly, truly does help out the channel as well. And as always, consider subscribing for more future content. So here in the 8th round, we've now seen Damian Harris as well as the San Francisco 49ers defense off the board. So a lot of good talent. We definitely want to go out and get a quarterback with either the 71st or the 74th overall selection. A really good value of James Robinson sitting here. We could go out and get our final running back, as we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We can still draft one more guy. I think there's going to be a lot of good receivers left in later rounds, as well as probably another good tight end like a Mike Gesicki that we can go out and get as well. So we'll just keep evaluating things. Looks like we've got a couple auto drafters with some kickers starting to be selected. But hey, like always, some leagues people go out and get kickers early. So I can definitely say that if DJ Moore is sitting here with the 71st overall selection, or Deontay Johnson, those are just too good of talent for me to pass up, especially, keeping in mind that our receiver room is a little bit thin here. Like I said, there's definitely going to be good value at the receiver position later on, but both these guys present very good wide receiver one value, So I'm going to go out and I'm going to get Deontay Johnson here, and then we should be able to lock up a quarterback as well. And then hopefully in this round 11, we see either Ronald Jones or James Robinson fall to us, or we could just go ahead and pick up one of those guys now, as we see pretty good overall depth at the quarterback position. It's going to make things a little bit risky, but that might be our move, right? So let's go out and let's get James Robinson. Why not? And that will allow us to take Ronald Jones off the board. And then now we are really going to be anticipating that 87th overall selection, and we are definitely going to be targeting one of these elite guys, and then we might be able to go out and get a guy a little bit later if we really need to, like a Trevor Lawrence or a Tua, as we see Tom Brady off the board now. So like I said, we're moving a little bit risky. I mean, we did just go out and get James Robinson. I think that adds some pretty good value overall to this roster, but also a little bit of a gamble, as we saw what he did last year, had a tremendous year last year, but he might not be the RB1 anymore. And if he's not the RB1, he could still be heavily utilized in that offense, don't get me wrong, but a little bit of a risk. So at this point, my top target is going to be Aaron Rodgers, and then we will probably turn around and get a second quarterback here in round 12, as the rest of this roster, in my humble opinion, looks very, very strong from a PPR standpoint, and even from a standard scoring standpoint. I mean, the receivers, a little weak from that standpoint. They're definitely more PPR type value guys, but at the tight end position and the running back position, we're looking absolutely loaded regardless of scoring format. So We definitely don't need to be targeting any more running backs, as we can't even draft any more running backs, right? But I really like the value of Jerry Jeudy here. I know I just said I was going to turn around and probably get 2 quarterbacks, but if we can secure a quarterback that we're confident in, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, whether it's Ryan Tannehill, whether it's, I mean, I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a good year, but I don't know how fully confident I am in him, right? But Matthew Stafford here, but really any of these 4 guys I'd be happy with as my QB1. Then we could probably target one of those sleeper guys that I've got, like a Trevor Lawrence or potentially Tua. But nonetheless, some other good names like Baker, Fitzpatrick, Joe Burrow, kind of sitting in there as well for a decent QB2 at the very least, right? So we will see how this unfolds and just kind of anticipate as we have 2 more selections. We've seen Tyler Bass. Is it Boss or Bass? You guys tell me because I'm not sure. I kind of go back and forth. Robbie Anderson here at pick 82, a great value. Chase Edmonds off the board. Melvin Gordon the third. Logan Thomas and Kenny Galladay. So let's go out and let's pick up A-Rod coming off that MVP year. 48 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, 3 rushing touchdowns, and over 4,200 passing yards. I like where they've got him projected. I think he'll be closer to 40 touchdowns overall, but over 5,000 passing yards and 1 rushing touchdown, 1.4, however you want to take that. So Javonte Williams off the board here. Hey, when you guys have time, go look up the strength of schedule for the Denver Broncos at every offensive position from a fantasy perspective. One of these running backs, if not both of them, are going to have very good fantasy years overall. So let's go out here. Let's get Jerry Jeudy, add a little bit of depth at the receiver position, and really just add a little bit of depth to this roster overall. And I'm going to scoot my face over, and then we're going to check here just to double check. Okay, so I can go on and get one more guy, right? I mean, Darren Waller makes us feel, pretty confident overall at the tight end position. And, I'm not entirely sure that we're going to need. Sorry, I'm just moving my face and doing all kinds of things here. I'm not entirely sure that we would need 2 quarterbacks, with Aaron Rodgers at the helm, right? But it also wouldn't necessarily hurt. We could always forfeit a kicker or defense and go out and get a second tight end. We're pretty loaded at skill positions here at the running back and receiver position. I feel very confident, right? So, I mean, the tight end position might be the way to go because we're going to see less tight ends popping up on the waiver wires throughout the year, and definitely see more quarterbacks as well. I mean, Matt Stafford sitting there is looking like a very good value, but it's definitely, big potential that he does get selected here as we see the 12th round coming to an end. Okay, so at the end of the 12th round, we saw Juju topping off that 12th round. Here at the beginning of the 13th round, we're going to see the selection of Dallas Goedert, and now we see Noah Fant. Looks like we're getting a bit of a run at the tight end position, which might kind of take our dilemma to a close here, as very possible that Mike Gesicki gets selected. And really the last tight end that I would really want to pick here would be Mike Gesicki, as now we see Matt Stafford off the board. So that kind of closes our dilemma at the quarterback position, as I think there's a pretty big drop off here. Honestly, if I had to pick one of these guys, it would probably be Trevor Lawrence. My fantasy value and fantasy stock in Trevor Lawrence is really starting to rise. But as we make our selection here, 103rd selection in the 13th round, a lot of good players fell here. I mean, Ronald Jones is here, Michael Carter's here. We've got Antonio Brown. We've got Kenyon Drake, Will Fuller. I mean, a lot of good value names here in this very late round of round 13, right? So I'm going to go out and get Mike Gesicki. I think that's a great player to go ahead and pair with that of Darren Waller. And then we're really just going to pick up a defense and a kicker. So I think, from an 8-man standpoint, that this roster turned out very good. I mean, we could have gone out and maybe got a quarterback a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, we still have Aaron Rodgers as our starting quarterback. And I think overall, this is a great fantasy roster. So let's see who's available from the defensive position. That's really your pick, right? I mean, all these defenses are probably going to have good years. Let's go add New England. I haven't done that in a while for one of these fantasy rosters, so why not? And then we will know that a kicker is going to fall to us. So let's go ahead and crack down this roster top to bottom, man. All right, like I just stated, we have got Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback position coming off of that MVP year. I mean, I don't really see a lot of regression from Aaron Rodgers on his revenge tour. I think he's going to have a fantastic year, whether it's fantasy wise or just regular football wise. A-Rod's coming out and proving who he is this year. So don't be scared to draft him from a fantasy perspective whatsoever. The receiver room, a little bit thin, I guess you could argue, but from a PPR standpoint, I think we went out and we got four really good guys. We got Robert Woods, we've got Julio Jones, right, Deontay Johnson, and Jerry Jeudy. So I'm feeling actually very confident, like I said, from a PPR standpoint with those four guys. Running back room is absolutely loaded, man. Zeke fell to us with the 7th overall selection, right? But then we went out and we also secured Najee Harris and David Montgomery. So really, three elite running backs in my perspective, right? Then we went out and got Josh Jacobs, someone who I've been really high on. Mike Davis, who's presumed to be the #1 running back all year long in that Atlanta offense, going to get a lot of goal line touches. I think these projections are a little weak for what I see him doing this year, right? I don't think he's going to have a incredible, fantastic lights out year, but I think he's going to have better numbers, closer to 1,000 rushing yards, and honestly, probably closer to 9 or 10 rushing touchdowns, in my opinion, right? James Robinson, like I said, we don't know if he's going to be the RB1, but it at least adds some pretty good depth and a good handcuff situation to this roster overall. We went out and we got a tremendous value, and that of Darren Waller. Our tight end position is going to be locked up all year long, but nonetheless, we still went out and got a second tight end on this roster. So overall, I'm very happy with this roster, with that 7th overall pick, and with an RB heavy strategy. So let's see what kicker we're going to end up with. Really, it's your pick, right? I mean, all these guys are going to have relatively good years. So just go out and get Ryan Suckup, as we know that Tampa Bay offense is going to be putting up a lot of points. So there you have it, man. 8-man league, 7th overall selection. Thank you so much, Dat Boy, for letting us know what type of mock draft you wanted to see. I had a blast doing this. As always, if you did enjoy this or find this in any way helpful or entertaining, go ahead and smash that like button. It truly does help out the channel. And as always, I kindly ask that you guys consider subscribing for more future content like this, as well as mine and Steven's The Annual, The Catch podcast, man. And as always, drop some comments down below. We like to hear your guys' feedback and what you guys want to see. Like I said, I thank you all very much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch.